Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
We got a lot to talk about.
I was one defensive stop away from the nod. I looked at Mike and I said, if they stop him again here, I think this game is over.
Yeah.
They didn't stop him.
But
They never stopped him again.
So going for two up nine, down nine, I should say, is definitely a nerd mountain.
Can you please just give me one reason that doesn't involve knowing what you need?
Because you know what you need either way.
Because I know what I need no matter what happens.
If they do it this way, right, then
Yeah.
at least they can try to find onside kick, whatever the case may be, to manufacture another possession.
Okay, so why can't you onside kick after you failed 2 points?
Because there's no more time left.
Well, there'll be,
okay.
So now you set up a false. Yeah.
That's a dumb argument. I said this on Sunday in the post-game show.
Thanks, Paul.
I didn't credit you with any of this. I don't know why you're taking it now. Being down 9 doesn't ensure that you will have 2 possessions any more than being down 8 does.
Right.
Does not compute.
All right.
Freddie, that was a big sigh.
We said a lot.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right. Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Wednesday here at Gillette Stadium. It's turn the page day, but there's still a lot of things to talk about besides the Jets.
A lot of soft talk.
A lot of soft talk. Chalk talk, soft talk. Jets talk. We're going to get to all of that. It's Paul, it's me. Deuce will be by. Evan will be by. There's a lot going on. Paul's going to have to leave momentarily to film. Deuce will be back. So people coming and going.
And hopefully I'll be able to come back.
Yeah.
Once we're done with that. But I think you and I, Fred,
Yeah.
I think we rattled some people yesterday.
Well,
A little bit.
I got a lot of feedback yesterday.
Me too.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of it positive and some of it negative too.
Yeah.
But I think that they were. I think some people were a little jarred by our reactions. For you, it was more about the current team and the state of things, being 1-6, and Gerard Mayo's role in that, and obviously me. I was pretty critical of Bill yesterday, Bill Belichick, and. You know, some people thought, well, wow, that's a real example of how these guys, even though they work for the team, they're giving us their honest opinions and they're pretty straightforward. And others were just like, oh, you know, now that Belichick is gone,
Right.
you know.
But you said those things while he was here.
Well,
if you listened.
About those particular elements
about
of
being
him.
hypocritical at times.
Yes, I've been very consistent. I've also been very consistent explaining how I feel he's the best coach I've ever seen.
Right. Both things can be true.
Yeah. So. And I stand by everything I said yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm not walking any of it back, but it doesn't mean that I don't sort of understand the success that this team had, you know, in the 6 titles. And I don't believe that just any coach would have come in with Tom Brady and won that much. I'm not saying that Bill's the only one that would have done it, but I think he had a big part in it.
One of the things that I've always said about Bill, and again, I'm not going to walk back on it now, obviously, but he was always a great X and O's guy, but I always said he was, and I know that, forget about the drafting, I think there's more to it than that, but I always thought he was just as good being the GM of the team, meaning, again, not just drafting, but just organizing the structure of the whole administration, you know, keeping everything together.
Being the CEO.
Yeah, being the CEO, making sure the train comes in on time, all that stuff. And you can see where when people come in and have to start from scratch, it's not that easy to do that.
You're right, and you've always said that too.
Yeah.
You've been consistent about that.
But that doesn't mean that I can't be upset by him taking shots at Gerard Mayo. I can still be upset with him for doing that.
And it's just like, by the way, if you go back, whatever it is, 4 or 5 months ago, when did the documentary come out? February, I think, right?
I forget.
So we did a podcast series on the documentary. It was No Socks, you and me.
Yep.
We had some occasional guests. We were pretty critical of how critical the documentary was of Bill Belichick.
Well, I wasn't.
Well, really?
No.
I thought you were.
Well, no, I acknowledge that it was.
Yeah, I thought it was very critical, and I thought there was a lot of
Yeah.
elements of the documentary that were kind of unfair to Bill. And I actually said some of these things when we had and I will not be able to remember the name now. I know Jeff Benedict was the author of
and
the
the
book.
director,
The director's name I can't remember right now.
Now you've
So
got, you know me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was some things that I said, that's not really the way it happened. And when we talked, I mean, some of this was on air, some of it was off air, but it was a little bit of both. And I said it. I thought some of it was unfair to Belichick. If this is not like beating on Belichick as he's gone, is basically my point. A lot of the stuff that I've had a problem with Bill for 20 plus years is this.
Well, and a lot of people said that, since Bill left, they've taken shots at him. They have. Like,
the team, and I think that's been wrong.
And Gerard, and and it's not really like, it's just kind of like throwaway lines that were like, you didn't need to say that.
And there's been a lot of references to the roster.
Yeah.
What they inherited.
But that's true.
Exactly. We all know that. We all know.
Like, why can't, it's amazing.
Some of us were very
now.
critical of the drafting that Belichick did over the last few years, and some people were a little bit slower to come on board.
It's amazing.
Mike has gone on rants about this for
it's
the
amazing.
last couple of years.
On either side, like, you say one critical thing of Bill, and you can't say anything like he was perfect. And it's the same on the other side. Like, you can't, criticize what's going on now, because if you do that, you're being overly critical. You can be fair.
Unfortunately, there's plenty of blame to go around.
Right. There's no doubt.
Because there's been a lot of missteps over the last 5 years.
But there's no doubt the team was a mess.
Yep.
The team was left in a mess. It wasn't all Bill's fault, but a lot of it was.
Yep, I would agree.
He took his, and for whatever reason, I think he took his eye off the ball the last couple years, particularly the offense. But I think he knew the end was coming, and for whatever reason, I don't think he was on his A game. And the roster was a mess. And Bill can say everything he wants. It's the same guys. Yeah, it's the same guys. And they're playing terribly. And, they didn't play that great last year either. So, all this, like, trying to obfuscate and,
right, so I think,
play the semantics game, you can see through that.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you just said. And I would say, we just got finished with the press conferences this morning. Gerard just spoke, and then we heard from Dietrich Wise, Hunter Henry, and Drake May. So I think there's certainly the message right now. It's an effort to sort of move on. We got the Jets coming in, tall task. They all recognize that it's, even though they're 2-5, it's a talented team. They know what happened about a month ago, down there. So I think there's an attempt to turn the page here.
You know how the best way is to get a win this Sunday, but
right, and that's what. And Gerard must have mentioned that 4 or 5 times. Listen, we're 1-6, and you're judged on your performance, and that's what it is. And until we start winning games, these narratives aren't going to change.
Yeah,
and
my concern right now is the locker room.
Yeah,
it's
there were a lot of questions about the locker room.
That's almost superseded what's going on the field. It's if I can be assured that these players are still with their head coach, then I'll settle down a little bit.
Right,
but
and that's when you say, like, despite the record, he was able to do the stuff that you talked about, being the GM, like being the CEO, keeping it on the tracks.
For 20 years.
Can they show that? Can they show that now? It's trouble. It's 1-6. Can they keep it? Can they keep it on board? Keep it, and get it moving in the right direction? Because the last couple of weeks it hasn't been moving in the right direction. So it's a big challenge that Mayo faces.
Yeah. So, late news or news that came out today is that Rodgers is dealing with a hamstring that he tweaked on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
So that's good news.
Injuries.
Well,
always,
listen,
always like those if you're Fred.
Listen, there's no denying it. The last time the Jets played well on offense was against the Patriots, right? Ever since then.
Yeah, they played pretty well in the Monday night game against Buffalo too, but
for a little bit.
But they just missed field goals, or they would have won the game.
That's true. But they couldn't get it into the end zone. They haven't been the productive team we thought they would be with Rodgers in that roster.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. With the second week with Devontae Adams, if that makes an impact.
And Mayo mentioned that.
I would say, Aaron, and this is on Aaron Rodgers, like he's done something to Garrett Wilson. I think he's stripped away Garrett Wilson's confidence in some way. He doesn't look right. Doesn't look like the same player to me. Wilson.
Is there a chance that Rodgers requires more exactness when it comes to route running, and he doesn't.
Or just a different kind of route running.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody. I mean, you might be right. It might be
Yeah.
about that. I've never heard anybody complain about Wilson's route running.
Well, he did
before.
a couple of weeks ago about redlining it or
Well, that
whatever
was that was Mike Williams.
Oh, that wasn't.
No.
Oh, I thought that was for
he
some
was in the
reason
wrong
Wilson.
spot. It was
Okay.
Mike Williams,
And he's
he
gone
said,
now.
He said no,
Yeah.
he's still there.
Was he?
Yeah.
I thought he's hurt or something.
No, he's. I mean, he's like not. He got knocked down
Yeah.
a spot on the right. He's probably like the fourth receiver
Okay.
now.
Okay.
But he's still there. I think he caught a pass the other night. But he's been. I mean, Mike Williams has kind of always been a big play receiver, but not a high volume receiver. I think he's only got like 10 or 15 catches on the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like Garrett Wilson the other night. The first pick, both picks that Rodgers threw in the Steelers game were both intended for Wilson. The first one was a god-awful throw by Rodgers. He wasn't open, tried to throw it through a guy, got picked off. The second one, he hit Wilson right in the hands on a nice route down the sideline, kind of in the hole,
Yeah.
the cover two hole on the sideline, and it went right off of his hands and bounced right to a Steeler. So it just, to me,
Yeah.
they don't look like they're on the same page. Wilson doesn't look like he's playing with the same freedom that he did, ironically, when he was playing with bad quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But they certainly look like they're on the same page when they played us.
They
last
did.
time.
Wilson
And
played
now they've
well in
got
that
Adams.
game. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be a tall task. I'm from the other side of the ball. I'm kind of looking forward to the problems that this will present to the Patriots offense because I want to see how Drake May does. How many times did Brissett get sacked last time they played the Jets? It was like 7, 5.
There were 7 altogether, but 2 of them were May.
Okay, right. So 5 times they got to Brissett, and the Patriots couldn't do anything. So I'm looking to see now his third game how Drake May looks against probably the best defense they played so far with May in the game.
I would say if the Jets are healthy, now they weren't in Pittsburgh. They were missing 5 of their top 6 members of the secondary. DJ Reed, Tony Adams, Ashton Davis. They were all out of that game. They had a bunch of guys from the practice squad. It looks like Reed practiced or is going to practice today.
Yeah.
So maybe he's coming back. Sauce Gardner is still there. He's the best of that group.
Right.
But they need Reed too. Michael Carter also missed the Steelers game. It looks like he's practicing today. So if they're healthy, if that Jets defense is healthy, I would totally agree it's better than Houston. So it'll be a different test. And the Patriots offensive line didn't handle all that pressure. And they didn't blitz a ton, it didn't seem to me. It was like different stunts that they caught them with. And they blitzed. I mean, I'm not saying they didn't blitz. They did blitz, but I just thought that they overwhelmed the Patriots in that game.
Yeah. So, in a strange way, I'm looking forward to the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to see if, because I think May's going to be able to get himself out of some of those situations that Brissett couldn't.
Right.
And even in that game, May got sacked twice, but he also ran like 3 times. I mean, he was only out there for a series.
Yeah. Speaking of May, I retweeted something that Dan Orlovsky posted.
I didn't see your retweet, but
Yeah.
I saw the clip.
So wasn't Orlovsky
Come a long way to sit out 2 years, huh?
Wasn't Orlovsky really critical of playing him early? Or?
He was really critical of him in coming out of college, saying he needed a lot of time.
Yeah.
Now, I thought May had an interesting answer today to one. I think Ben Volen asked him about what Orlovsky had said. It said like he was really complimentary of your footwork and your base,
right?
And
timing.
And I thought May had a really good answer. He sort of talked about it and said, these are a lot of these things, the things that I never did in college. We didn't have this stuff in college. So like being under center, 5-step drop. So
maybe I was good at it all along.
He didn't say it, Fred. He didn't say it because I think he's too classy.
Right.
And I think so far he's just been perfect with what he has said. But I think that's what he was talking about. Was like, well, don't criticize me for things that I never did in college because I never had to do them.
But let's just say that for argument's sake, let's say that he has learned some things since college. I'd really be curious to know who's the main person right now on the staff that's been coaching him.
Well, this is one of the reasons why. And
is it McAdoo?
I'm starting to get some criticism for my defense of Alex Van Pelt. And this is not, listen, Alex Van Pelt is not my cup of tea as far as a system. You know this.
Yeah.
I don't like, run first kind of mentality and whatnot. But his number one job is what?
Calling the offense and architecting the offense.
I would say his number one job is developing Drake May.
Okay. Well, that's the thing. I don't know if that's his job.
And now everybody,
is it McAdoo's
but now
job?
everybody's just going to say, well, May did this. May was just better than, May's got a work ethic. He's getting no credit for it at all.
Right.
And I'm not telling you that Drake May is a product of Alex Van Pelt because I don't believe that's true either.
Yep.
But I'm giving him some credit for Drake May looking as good as he's looked in the two games.
He hasn't ruined him.
I'm giving him credit for it. He looks a lot better than he did in the summer.
Right. I agree. That's why I'm wondering. Honestly, I'm curious. Like, who is the main person that is working on the technique, the mechanics, who's with him in the VR room, that type of thing.
No, I think those are all fair questions.
Yeah.
But, whether it's Alex Van Pelt, Ben McAdoo, T.C. McCartney, or all of the above.
Right.
I think that they deserve some of the credit for helping Drake May look as good as he's looked in these two games. He's playing better right now than he looked in the summer in training camp.
Yes.
On the practice field. And that to me is a sign that they're doing their jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to complain about play calls because that's what I'm a New Englander. That's what I do. We're going to complain about stuff. But I just feel like it's been, are these the guys? What are their credentials? And well, I don't know. It seems to be working, and I know what's going to happen if Drake May pans out and he ends up being really good. Everybody's just going to say, "Well, this is Drake May. His talent won out. He was just that good.
Right.
He overcame it. He overcame the lack of, coaching."
Yep. But listen, Alex Van Pelt played football in the NFL, played quarterback in the NFL. I mean, that's worth something. I know he wasn't, but
he was an NFL quarterback.
Right.
He was a better NFL quarterback than Dan Orlovsky.
Yeah,
I like Orlovsky.
Yeah.
I say this all the time. It probably sounds like, geez, how do you treat your enemies? I like Dan Orlovsky. I just thought that was a little bit short-sighted. Like, he's going to have to sit for 2 years. I think he'd probably like to walk that one back.
Right.
We all do it. I've done a million of them. I just told you yesterday, I thought that Derrick Henry wouldn't be a good fit in the Ravens offense. Right? We all say things that we regret, but
all right.
I think he'd probably want to walk that one back.
So I don't want to start a whole new conversation about the 2-point, but we were looking for at least one emailer or somebody to give us at least one.
Did someone give a reason other than you know what you need?
Kind of. Junior from Minneapolis writes in.
I'm in.
Says, didn't hear the show yesterday, but knowing Paul, he probably had a healthy rant about the decision to go for 2. You were right. So here's the logic. He says, you're down 15 and you think you can rely on having only 2 more possessions. The reason you go for 2 on the first touchdown is that it gives you a chance to win in regulation. If you kick an extra point on the first touchdown, the best you can do is tie the game in regulation and then play to win in overtime. Analytics say that you have a slightly better chance going for the win in regulation than playing for the tie and hoping you win in OT. Usually I would be on Paul's side, but with how bad the Patriots have been this year, I think you have to get aggressive in these situations and try to win on the margins, however slim they might be. So,
okay, I just want to applaud.
I mean, that makes sense. Yeah.
I'm being as serious as I could possibly be.
Right.
That is the first person who has given me an analytical reason as to why you would do it that way.
Right.
You guys know how I feel.
Right.
You guys know I don't agree with it.
Yeah, and I still disagree with it too.
Right. That's not my point.
Right.
My point. What I would like, what I enjoy about sports debate, is just that.
Right.
Debating it.
Yeah.
I don't want everybody to agree with me, and I don't want everybody to think I'm wrong. I want to have a discourse about it, not just, well, you know what you need, so that's better. I know what I need no matter what I do.
Yep.
Whatever I did, the result is there for me to now understand what is necessary the rest of the way.
Yeah.
This explanation from, was it
It's Junior from Minneapolis.
Junior from Minneapolis?
Yeah.
That, again, I don't love the explanation, but that's a reason.
Yeah.
That's a thoughtful reason. I'm trying to win the game in regulation. Personally, that's not my goal.
Yeah.
My goal is to not lose.
Well, and also,
I think by doing it that way, you lose the game with 8 minutes left.
yeah, but also by if you are able, even if you do it our way and you play for the tie, if you've overcome that deficit and at the end of the game you've tied it, you've got the momentum. I like that.
They don't believe in that.
Yeah, they don't believe in momentum.
They
I
don't
do.
believe in that. I
Yeah.
do too.
Yeah.
But momentum could be as as meaningful as the coin flip.
Yeah. You've made a stop. You've scored again.
My point is, I want the other team to have to play it out. I want to put. I think there's such a thing as game pressure. I want to put game pressure on the opponent, and by going for 2 and missing it, and I know you don't go for 2 thinking you're going to miss it. You want to make
Sure.
it. You want to execute. But by going for 2 and missing it, you take all the game pressure off the opponent, because
That's
now
right.
they know there's 8:22 left.
They need the ball twice.
We Mike, as Mike Dussault gets ready to saddle up and get involved, I just gave a nice golf clap to Junior in Minneapolis, because he just gave a thoughtful, analytical reason of why down 15, cutting it to 9, you would go for 2.
Okay.
And the whole I won't go through the whole thing, but the long and short of it is, it gives you an opportunity to win in regulation
Okay.
rather than just tie in regulation.
Okay.
Again, Fred and I,
I like that though. Simple.
right, but it's a reason.
Right.
It's the first reason I've ever
You know
heard.
what you have.
Yeah.
I've never heard it.
right.
Other than I know what I need.
Now you know you might have a chance to win the game.
Right. So
There you go.
Fred and I both agreed. We disagree with the reason. But that's okay. Like
Yeah. At
someone,
least it makes
someone
sense.
can have a reason for
Yeah.
doing something. And
Yeah.
someone else could say, no, I want to do it this way. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Knowing what I need is not a reason for doing something, because I know what I need no matter what
Right,
happens.
right, right. It's amazing it took this long to get that, because that's totally reasonable.
I gave him a clap.
response.
I
And
mean,
how
that-
could no one else come up with that in the statistics community? Like,
Well, I'm sure that the people that believe in it
yeah,
would say this, and it's
Yeah.
just the people that glom on to analytics.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like they don't really you know what I mean? There's a
Yeah,
difference
yeah,
between a true statistician and analyst, as opposed to someone who believes in analytics.
Right, right, right.
You know what I mean?
Just going off the
Like-
book.
So Mike, thanks
Yep.
for joining us.
Who's back from the locker room? What was the mood? Were the players friendly? Too bad none of them looked like Derrick Henry. Hey Mike, what was it like in the locker room? Hey Mike, what was it like in the locker room?
So Mike, what was it like in the locker room?
Oh, it was, well, I went into the locker room first. It's a little bit different, of course, as I've laid out many times. So I went in there just to get the vibe a little bit, but it was hard to get a read on the vibe. A lot of guys, kind of empty, and guys were coming in from meetings. And then Keon White was going to go over in the other locker room. So I went to listen to Keon White and Keyshawn Boutte. Those were the 2 video interviews. Keon White, look, they asked him about the
Video interviews?
Yeah, the video interviews now take place in the
Oh,
Revolution
oh,
locker
oh.
room. Yeah,
They were
that's what-
live.
They were live.
Yeah,
When you
with
said
the-
video
with the
interviews, I was
cameras.
thinking
Yeah,
it was like a WebEx.
No,
No,
with
no.
the-
I know, what
no,
you, I
no.
know what you mean.
No
now.
more WebExes.
Sorry.
But both those guys talking about being soft, and I mean, Keon White was, look, we've all been called way worse than that. It's a reflection of the team. You look at the tape, it's kind of what it was. So it's on us to
Good
play
for him.
play better.
Good for him.
It was a good one.
Good
It was
answer,
like,
Keon
are
White.
you do you feel extra motivated this week? He's like, we get paid a lot of money to do this. It's
Another
our
good
job.
answer.
Just no BS from Keon White, which I always kind of appreciate. Sometimes I think it's maybe got him a little bit in trouble in the past, but just laying it out what it was. Keyshawn Boutte, same way. Evan was asking him a few questions just about how he's been able to kind of rise a little bit this year. I mean, I don't want to overstate it. A couple, big plays over the last couple games, but it was interesting to me because we always make fun of him not getting his feet in bounds. Like that was like the thing.
Yeah, I don't, but
Well, I don't know, that being the thing, like that being like what it was. And, I always felt like he was kind of filling in that role, and he didn't quite make the
course.
play, and he's a rookie, and he took a step back. But in his response, it was, he said, he was like, last year, Bill Belichick, after one game, I told the coaches this year, I think he swore, he's like, there ain't no effing way I was going to do that again this year. Evan, asked him follow up about, just how have you been able to do it? And, just talked about his attention every day, looking at every day as, it's a cliche, but looking at every day as an opportunity to get better and to take advantage of
kind of the way Alex
being
Van
here
Pelt
and stuff,
talked about
so-
him last week.
Yeah.
Remember? Or
Yeah.
last week, or might have been 2 weeks ago. I
So,
don't. But
two
just
good
saying-
guys saying all the right things.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I
Yeah.
mean, the Keon White stuff, I think that's exactly how you should want to handle those questions because that can't be easy to be told that you're playing soft. And let's face it, he's directing it right at them because
Yeah.
it's stopping the run.
Sure.
Well, I think it's
I know-
also running the ball.
I know all the
Yeah.
things that he said.
Yeah.
I know all the different things he said.
Yeah.
They're allowing an average of 165 yards
I
a
know.
game on the
Yeah.
ground since week 2. They've had some games where they've run the ball well since week 2.
Yeah, no, I
they
know.
haven't had any that they stopped it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But they've changed who they are in the last few weeks. They are playing soft.
Yeah.
And they've got to figure out how to be tough. I think what helps Gerard in this and what kind of helps him get away with saying what he said is the fact that he has played the game
Yeah, I think you're right.
at a high level as a linebacker and, was not afraid to get his, nose in there and, as a thumper.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of helped him in this. I think otherwise he would have less credibility. But still, I'm not saying that he should have said what he said publicly, but I think it's kind of helped him a little bit.
I don't have as big a problem with what he said publicly as other people do.
I mean,
it's
it's
probably
a bad
not,
precedent.
It's probably not something I would have done.
Yeah.
But I don't kill him. I think he's trying to light a fire, and I think I think he's probably done some of this stuff behind closed doors and doesn't feel like it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting frustrated.
He's getting frustrated.
yeah.
I don't have a huge again, it's probably not my style to go ripping everybody, but I understand. To me, some of the other stuff, Mike, I don't know. I didn't get a chance to talk to you about the press conference afterwards because I know you go to the locker room. I was telling Fred, just so that whole interaction in the middle there, because almost all of the Mayo questions were related in some way to soft.
Yeah.
Right? And he was like, yeah, we just gotta, we gotta stick together. We gotta prove people wrong. And I'm like, the whole theme of the press conference is about the reaction of your team from you calling them soft. Who are you proving wrong?
Right.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we're going to ignore the noise. Well, you kind of created the noise. So that's why I say
They got to prove me wrong.
I don't have a
They gotta
huge
prove-
problem.
yeah.
I really don't have a huge problem with Gerard said, but it's not exactly what I would have done.
Yeah.
And that's why, because you're creating other. I know what you try. My guess is he's trying to light a fire.
Unless he's like this genius.
But you also
and,
gotta come with everything
He knew that it
else.
was going to create this.
Well, I
thing
think
and-
he did.
Yeah, and then he wanted people to go into the locker room and saying, "Are you soft?"
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the intended goal, and if that's true, we got what he wanted.
You're watching it in real time, and I mean, I've said many times I love coaching. I just think coaching I did it once for a year in club college hockey, but it was one of the hardest experiences of my life, and just trying to get.
Maybe you can sit him down and give
No,
him
I
a
don't
guide.
think
Is
I
that harder
could.
than suffering through 12 and 4 seasons. And
But you're
not winning
watching
Super
a
Bowl.
coach struggle through some of this and learning and growing pains, and I think that was what to me is just so hard as a coach. And it sounds stupid and it sounds obvious, but you have so many different personalities to manage, and you've got one kid, speaking from my experience, who's a complete turd, and just as and you didn't even see it coming through the whole preseason, and all of a sudden you get to a game and you all of a sudden realize wow, I have a total jackass on my team who's going to take runs at people and is going to be disrespectful to referees, and how do I deal with this? And that's just one of my own personal examples of it, but
Wow.
you're seeing all these different fires pop up, and you're seeing every word that you say being thrown back in your face with maybe without context sometimes. And even Nick Sirianni, go back a couple weeks ago, he's bringing his kid up and he gets killed for that.
He should have.
He should have, and it's so hard to be a coach, and that's why I have so much respect for the people who do it really well and are able to keep a team together and pull in the rope. And I don't want it to become a Bill verse, but you saw what Bill learned from his first years in Cleveland and what he took with him. That was hard to deal with sometimes, but I think you have a little bit of an understanding now of he wasn't going to trap himself. One of the very least things you could say about Bill was he very rarely set a trap for himself that he knew was going to get thrown into his face
and that's
again.
probably why he took it the other way and just said, I'm going to say absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Because then that can't
There's
happen.
got to be a happy
Right.
medium, right?
There's got to be a medium. Again,
Yeah.
I don't a lot of people are saying, well, you wanted transparency. Now you have it's not necessarily what he's saying. It's that what he's saying seems to change all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you're okay. If you have a philosophy and you I made the comment yesterday about a couple of weeks ago he was asked about his run defense against Miami, and he said, we have a tough team. We're physical enough. And 2 weeks later, it's we're soft. We played soft.
Yeah.
To me, it's not necessarily, this is why you shouldn't say anything. I didn't like that either.
Well,
but kind of find a message and stick with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On one of your morning shows today, they were talking about
One of my shows.
other first-year head coaches who initially got criticized, got off to rocky starts and then kind of, recovered in later years. And Dan Campbell was mentioned. And, we all remember when Dan Campbell started, he had that opening.
Bite kneecaps.
And it was just like, what
We're going to get
what
up,
did the
and on
Lions?
the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Right.
All right. And we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. All right. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap.
Did
Right.
you see him? They had the Lions put out a video, post-game
No,
locker room video.
No.
He's just.
no, he's a nut.
He's just out. He's,
but that's
he's
kind of my
out of his
point.
mind.
Yeah.
So, like we all were like, what is going on in Detroit? This guy can't do it. And a few years later, now Detroit's one of the better teams in the league. I don't think he's changed much. I think that's who he was.
No, but what they have, I mean, I would say that that's a hard model to recreate. I mean, I think they're exceptional. They have an offensive coordinator who's exceptional.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
But
and obviously, their general manager has done a pretty good job because
yeah.
Yeah.
they've
But
drafted.
my
pretty
Going
point
back
is,
to Matt Patricia.
if as long as that's
he gets
who,
the credit for it.
you just got to be consistent and be, genuine.
Yeah.
So I think Gerard will figure it. I'm hoping Gerard will figure it out, but in that he doesn't completely change personality, because if he does that, then he will lose the locker room.
Yeah.
Then you're like, well, who are you? Are you the guy that was your first year, or is it the guy? As long as he's true to himself, he could be okay. But we've got to give him time. Right now, there's some stumbling blocks that he's going over. There's no doubt. But you've got people now, fire him, fire everybody. It's like, it's so knee-jerk.
Yeah, I mean, he keeps going back to the truth of it all, which is that winning kind of cures everything.
Of course.
Yeah.
You win a game, you find a way to win a game, and all of a sudden people, the narrative starts to change. But until that point, I mean, I think that after that,
Dan Campbell would be gone if they if they kept losing.
and as Paul was alluding to, I mean, it's success of drafting good players, and it's and I think you can have a head coach like that where the stuff about Gerard not doing enough on the sidelines, it doesn't really ring true to me. It would make people feel better if he was, kneeling down in front of the offense. That's not going to be him. I don't expect that to be him. Maybe you can say it on the defensive side of the ball like we got into yesterday, but I just need this Jim Harbaugh that guy, or John Harbaugh that guy. Was John Harbaugh the guy that's drawing up plays? I never really picture him as the drawing up plays guy. He's just kind of been the steadfast leader and the tone setter of Baltimore for and allowing his coordinators to evolve their offense. They've always had a tough and respectable defense.
It's a great point.
So I don't know. It's not going to make me feel better if all of a sudden Gerard says I'm taking over the defense. As I said yesterday, you don't know for sure, but he's got to get back to that place we were after week 1 where they won a game and you felt like you had some validation, and they need something like that, because as we're seeing right now, none of us have seen a 6-game losing streak, right? That goes back to the mid-90s before you guys were even here. So this is new charted territory for me, and you can just see how things snowball. You saw it in bursts last year when they would start to lose games and you would feel it, but I've been saying to Paul, it's just a different feel when always in the back of your mind you thought, well, maybe Bill's going to pull these guys together. You always, because he's capable of it. He's done it, and it just kind of never happened. Whereas with Gerard, you have to earn that. We have to see it. We have to believe that that these guys are going to want to pull it together and rally circle the wagons around him. It's an opportunity this week, but it's not going to be easy.
And then you look at things like the way it's all unfolded, and you looked at the schedule going in, and this is Fred's old theory, don't judge the schedule because you never know. It was supposed to be murderer's row.
Yeah.
It hasn't been.
Right.
They've lost to a 1-5 team, to a team right now that's 2-5. They're
one of the worst defenses.
The Niners
in the league.
were supposed to be the greatest team in the league, and they're 3-4.
I mean,
the only team.
What you thought of the Jets going into the season, certainly offensively, is not what you're going to be facing this week. They haven't played well offensively.
Well, just in general, I'm just talking about the teams in general.
Yeah.
I mean, the Jags are 2-5, the Jets are 2-5, the Niners are 3-4, the Bengals are 3-4. These were all supposed to be great teams. I think the only team with a winning the Dolphins were supposed to be great. They're 2-5.
Yeah.
The only team with a winning record that they've played is Seattle.
Yeah.
And they're 4-3.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think everybody thought it was going to be really, really hard. the schedule, and the schedule hasn't really been hard.
Yeah.
And yet here we are at
Right.
1-6.
Right. And I think that adds to fans' frustration. Like, wow, we don't need to be this bad. And and yet here we are. All right, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. I'm sorry, not the Ace Ticket hotline, the TPX.
Come on, Fred.
The TPX hotline. Podcast@patriots.com is the email address. We've got people on the line now. We've got a lot of emails, so people complain because I didn't get to a lot of emails yesterday, Paul.
Were they complaining?
Yeah. But we had so many. It was unbelievable.
Someone called me an alcoholic, so I
yeah.
don't feel bad.
Let's go to Dylan in North Carolina. What's up, Dylan?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey.
The first thing I wanted to talk about was the throw to Hunter Henry on the second drive. I saw May lead him, he threw the ball before he even cut, and I was like, I haven't seen that since Brady, and it was just such a great thing to see.
Yeah.
And then I don't want to say Mayo should be fired, but if the season goes how it is now with all the off-field issues, do you think there could be a change, or do you think no matter what, he's going to be the coach for next year? I don't think it off the air, guys. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Dylan. Listen, I barring something really bad, he will be the coach next year.
Yeah. I think you have to give him a chance. I mean, as I said, he hasn't really coached before, so
Yeah.
I don't think we anticipated growing pains with a new coach too. That's something that he's going to step in it a couple times. That's just kind of how it goes when you're not used to being under the microscope. But I agree. I mean, I think it's nice to see on May. Dan Orlovsky came out with with a nice little film breakdown of him complimenting him. I know Bedard was positive on him. That's the silver lining here, is that you feel like the quarterback is making progression. And let's face it, let's give some credit to Alex Van Pelt and the coaching staff. I just think it's so stupid now to be well, he should have played from the get-go. They're doing everything possible to just discredit the offensive coaching staff when, all right, I know there's not a lot to say positive right now, but the kid looks pretty good. He's progressing. He's getting better.
Paul and I were talking about that before you came, and I mean, it looks like he's better than even just the summer.
Yeah.
Forget about college. And
Yep.
somebody should get credit for that.
Right.
At least a little
No,
credit.
Instead, they should have played him all along.
They certainly didn't ruin him.
Yeah.
And he's certainly getting some good advice because he looks confident out there. He's on time. All the stuff that Orlovsky said, we saw as well. And so somebody's doing something right.
Right.
It's at least through 2 games, it seems to be going in the right direction. Now we'll see against the Jets. The Jets have a whole different defense that he's going to have to contend with. Certainly the first time they played the Jets, 7 sacks between him and Brissett.
Yep.
So they're going to get after him. They're going to, and they should. They should test the Patriots' offensive line. That will be different than the first time they played the Jets. But, I don't know if they're going to do any better against the Jets' rush. But we'll see.
Yeah.
And I like I told Paul, I'm looking forward to this test for the offense. I'm looking forward to see what May can do against this, I think, formidable defense.
Yeah.
Will he be able to escape? In times where Brissett wasn't able to escape the first time they played the Jets, will May be able to turn some of those plays into positives? So, in a weird way, I'm kind of looking forward to this game.
Oh, for sure. Well, I think that's what I'm looking. These last 10 games, that's what I'm looking forward to most. But I would say, don't you feel like there's going to be, we just cautioned, there's going to probably be a bad Drake May game.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be one of those games where he throws 2 picks, no touchdowns.
Whether
and
it's this game or not,
swimming in it.
there's got to be.
It's going to be.
It has to.
Cue this up, 12:39 of this show.
Yeah. And then
we'll play this
as soon
back.
as it happens,
they ruined him.
Right.
They ruined him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think you see that with all the young quarterbacks, especially as defenses start to catch up a little bit with them. And
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to panic when that happens.
How about down to Tennessee? Melvin. What's up, Melvin?
What's going on?
Hey, Melvin.
Hey. In regards to, of course, as you all just talked about the division, kind of the coaches got that thing and the players, and I think, Fred, you hinted at it yesterday, and maybe, it's important that you get your captains involved to kind of be that bridge, right? You want your captains to kind of be the bridge and communicate between the players and the coaches. So while they're going through this kind of situation that they need some issues to address, would you be trying to let a lot of your current players do a lot of the speaking, or would you try to, is there actually going through it, or would you try to like, not really, I'm not trying to reach out and disrespect anybody, but maybe I need Andrews or players like that, even though they're here but not here, but I want somebody in this locker room just playing to step up, bring this stuff together, or do you really feel like, how are you going to go about making sure you have the right players in place to bridge this gap so that we can get back all on the same page?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Melvin. I mean, there used to be a thing where if you were injured, out of sight, out of mind, the coaches wouldn't want you around. I hear what you're saying. I think there is some merit to having a guy like Andrews around, certainly, but I think it has to be the players that are playing. It has to come from them. They're the ones that are out there. They're the ones that are, playing against the other team, having to, go through the game plan, get ready for Sunday, and then execute. So the leadership right now, I think, has to come from within.
Yeah.
It has, obviously it starts with Gerard. That's, the ultimate leader. But in terms of the players, I think the leadership has to come from within. I don't know right now who would step up and be that leader. It's such a young team in so many areas. Dietrich Wise maybe, but he's just not. He's more like the kind of, well, at least from what I know, like the guy that gets along with everyone, a great teammate and
not
everything.
Willie McGinnis.
But I'm not sure he's the guy that will get in your face and MF you as a teammate if you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
He's, I'm thinking guys like McGinnis, like you said, Rodney Harrison, of course Brady, back in the day Peppers and Anthony Pleasant, and I'm going way back now. But these were guys that will get in your face and set the tone. And why weren't you, in the weight room earlier?
Yeah.
Why are you walking in now? McGinnis would walk through and the guys would be playing, whatever game. Why aren't you in your playbook? Because winning was the most important thing to these guys.
Yeah.
It didn't. Yeah, you're going to make your money and you're going to do all this other stuff, but all of it will be better if we win.
Yeah.
All that other stuff is better if we win. So while you're here, that's what it's all about. And I don't know who that person is right now who's playing who can be that lead dog.
Yeah.
I'm not, maybe eventually it's Keon White, but he's only in his second year,
Yeah.
These other guys, like, they did stuff and they earned kind of the right to be in people's face. I don't know. I don't know. It starts with Gerard. He's got to be the guy right now because of the inexperience of the rest of the team.
They've got to find their own way. I mean, as much as you love David Andrews as a leader, and Dietrich Wise has taken on a leadership role the last couple of years, these guys need to find their own way. They need to make their own kind of structure outside of the connection to the Belichick Patriots. And at what point do 3-4 guys who played for Bill Belichick tell you, it's just not ringing true anymore what their message is? Because let's face it, this is becoming the reality for this Patriots team that's going out there and taking their lumps right now. And I think that's what you hope. And I said it, I think, before the season, of wanting Drake to get in. I want him to get in. I want him to form that foundation of, even if it's losing, of that chip on their shoulder of, we're getting beat down by the rest of the AFC East right now. Like, these teams are, they're looking at us as a get-right game. The Jets are about to waltz in here. 6 months ago, they beat you for the first time in whatever it was, 7 years. And now they're coming in here like they own the place. These are the games and the kind of, situations that are going to form this new core, from the ashes of which you hope that a leader like Keon White is saying, look, we've been getting kicked in the teeth the last 2 years. I'm not going to allow this to happen. We're no longer this Patriots team trying to live up to a standard that was set here by another head coach a long time ago. We're now a new team, and they have to make their own way, like I said, and that's, I think, what you're hoping. But like you said, Fred, I don't know who those guys are going to be. But let's face it, is David Andrews, we don't even know if he's going to be here next year. Those guys, Jonathan Jones is a free agent. We don't know if he's going to be here this year. At a certain point, all those guys that have that connection to Belichick's team are going to be gone. They need to make their own identity.
It's that competitive attitude. We know the stories about Brady, how no matter what he was doing, whether it was ping pong or football, he hated to lose. Who are those people that they just hate to lose?
Mm-hmm.
And, all these guys after they played, Edelman and, of course, Brady, but Bruschi and Rodney Harrison, all these guys that are Kelsey's and the Mannings. Yeah, they made a lot of money, but the reason why they're so successful now is because they won.
Yeah.
It's because they were winners. And the networks want winners. They're not going to put people on TV who never won unless it's just an X and O's guys like Dan Orlovsky. The guys that make the big money on Sunday morning and that the networks turn to are the guys that won.
Yeah.
Michael Strahan and all that stuff. And it's how do you get that message to the young people? Money and social media, that's all great. But if you win, then you really get what you want. It's about winning, winning, winning.
It's interesting how those Patriots of the late 90s, though, kind of were the foundation for the dynasty, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where a guy like Willie McGinnis went to a Super Bowl in his second year. They were in the playoffs. They were competitive. They had down year in 99, 2000. Bill came in, 5 wins, and then they're not only back, but that's not enough for them. I guess Brewski would have told you that 2002 we kind of took the foot off the gas a little bit, but that team, it was almost like having that little bit of success made them hungry for real sustainable success that is generational success that they ended up having. So I do wonder, a team can't just continue to roll out their 4-win season, 2-win season, and never have any success. It's hard to pull. You've got to find a way.
You've got to find
have
a
way. Little bit of juice, to get a little bit of win, to get the belief going, so that guys now realize, all right, we had a good week, we can do it this way, and you start to build around.
You got to find
guys.
a way, and you need better players. This offseason's critical, and I think one of the things that Elliott Wolf should be looking for, and along with Gerard Mayo, is bringing in a veteran or two who has that chip on their shoulder, who maybe wasn't respected in his former team or came close but hasn't won it yet, but's a really good player. They had success doing that in the past, with guys like Rodney Harrison and Randy Moss and Corey Dillon, and bring in those guys who aren't afraid to get in the face of their teammate because they have some credibility.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they want to win. It's all about wanting to win.
I'd even throw guys like Vrabel and, like Roman Pfeiffer. Like, you named off all the stars, Fred, but like the guys who maybe have some NFL experience. So there's a certain level of who they are. But at the same time, Vrabel was like the third outside linebacker in Pittsburgh. He's hungry. He wants a starting job. He wants a chance to, be the man.
Right.
Where those other pieces can be, nice kind of cherry on top of the personnel department. But to find, in free agency, find some of those dogs, those guys that, maybe they don't have an ego yet. They're the guys who are like, man, I'm just waiting for a team to give me my chance, and then I'm going to go out there and show them. I'm attracted to those kind of guys too.
Yeah.
But it's a little daunting at this moment, thinking about the off season and the different holes, and who's is Barmore going to be back? Is Jabril Peppers a part of this team going forward, or is he falling by the wayside? There's just so many questions even before the off season to identify.
Yep. Todd's in North Carolina. What's up, Todd?
Hey guys, let's hope Paul would still be there. I think there's another reason why they tried to go for it and tried to go for 2 points. Let's try to get the defense to lift, because it was just their passes were dragging on the field. They were doing nothing, and maybe giving them some hope. I know it's switched because last year it was the defense giving hope, but I think maybe the defense needs that hope coming from the offense now, and that kind of puts a lot more pressure on Drake May, which gets to my next point. And I'll take my answers off after the point off the air. My next point is, how long do we keep Drake in there and say, okay, we've set let's put him away. He can walk the rest of the season. We can make him evolve some more and keep going, because I am worried that somewhere along the line he might get whacked. I think you're a good comment with your coaching. I think he's been coached well, because he does seem to have improved a lot over what you guys were documenting. You, Evan, everybody, Paul, were documenting his ability in the training camps and saying, look, this is why he's not starting, and he seems to really have progressed. So I'm just worried that maybe we put him in too long, you like to overcook the meat and it's all stringy and gross, that kind of thing. Anyway, back to you later, bye.
Did you hear what he said?
I hope I got the gist of it, Todd, but I'm not worried. I think there are going to be ups and downs. I think that's what people have to realize. It's not going to just be a straight line to greatness. for Drake May, it's going to be, like we said earlier, there's going to be some games where,
yeah.
he might get banged up. But that's...
And look bad. There might be games where he just looks bad, and this could be the game. Who knows? But
I'll take it. The last 2 games, what we've seen from him, based on what we've seen the last couple of years, it should. I wish it was worth more. I wish that you could just kind of whistle past the graveyard and be like, I feel really excited about the quarterback, but it's hard to when they're playing this badly, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
On the going for 2 thing, I think they had a little momentum, and by missing that 2, I think you killed it.
Yeah.
And
I would have liked the defense to be motivated, being picked up by getting a 10-point lead to start the game, and then then they kind of had nothing going into that second quarter where, through the third quarter, they couldn't get off the field. They couldn't get a stop. So, I want more from the defense to play. I think everybody does. You just want to rally around the kid. I would liken it to a high school football team where the freshman's in there and we got to protect the kid and he's good. So, if we just can play good for him, and sometimes that's, what a team needs to get going, but it hasn't been good enough yet.
Kendall in North Carolina. Hey, Kendall.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, Kendall.
Quick question. I know y'all said y'all don't care about wins or losses for this year, and I think the win total was 4. So what's the expectation for next year? About 7 games or 10, or a fight for a playoff spot? That's what they think.
Okay, Kendall, it's hard to have an expectation for next year without knowing what they do in the off season. But assuming they do a few good moves, I would imagine that they can win maybe 7 games next year. But it's way too early.
Yeah.
A lot of it is, does Drake May continue to progress? So I'm not even thinking about next year's record. But I will say this: if they hit on a couple draft picks, if they do bring in a couple good free agents, and Drake May continues to progress, they can turn this thing around in short order. Where in 2 years, maybe in 2026, they're actually competing for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
But they've got to hit these things. They can't just have one guy out of the draft that makes an impact.
No.
They've got to get 2 to 3 impact players out of the draft, plus, at least 2 free agents that they bring in.
Oh yeah.
And then the guys that are here, like the Keon Whites and the Drake Mays, take that next step.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. A lot of these things happen for the quick turnaround that I'm talking about. All those things have to happen. It's not easy.
I just think, though, you look at the teams right now that are in the 3 wild card spots, or the teams that it's not that overwhelming. These aren't these juggernauts, and oh my God, it seems so far away. It can happen quick, and look, there's not a lot of big pieces to worry about right now, and I mean you can take that for what it means, but for better or worse. But they did all the heavy lifting internally last year. Jonathan Jones, certainly a piece to consider, who's a starter, who's going to be a free agent. But I mean, really, otherwise, you're just kind of looking at upgrading and building around this core that's going to be here. So you might hate a lot of these players, but they're all kind of under contract to come back. So, they're at least starting from a certain place. I just say they got to be in that mix of those wildcard teams next year. If you're just looking at it from new head, Gerard Mayo and Elliott Wolf came in last year. It's year 2 of a rebuild. You feel like you found the quarterback. You're going to have a bunch of cap space and draft picks this year to do what you want. I would expect to try to be in that 6-7 win, but I'd like to see at the end of this year to feel like some reason to believe that could be coming. But right now, it's hard to say it is. You're at the low point right now.
Eldred, North Carolina. What's up, Eldred? Hey.
Hey, fellas, how y'all doing?
Hey, Eldred.
Hey, Paul?
He's not here.
He's not here.
He's shooting a TV show.
He's shooting a TV show, okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell Paul, I agree with every word he said about May and Van Pelt and McCourty and the other guy that's helping Drake May. Because 2 years ago, his feet were nothing like that.
Yeah.
The last 2 games, I'm impressed. Very.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think he'd get there that quick. And if they keep working with him, I might be able to buy a May's jersey next week.
Let's go.
if that's so. But his feet's a whole lot better. But it's always it's the draft. And like I said on the post-game show, I'm just taking it year by year because It's a rebuild from now. Should have been 5 years ago, but the regime didn't want to do it. So everybody just got to sit back and be patient.
Yeah.
You know, everybody want to win, but we the ones gonna have that bag this time.
Yeah.
Until we get the bag. And that's it for me, fellas. Y'all have a good one.
All right, thank you.
That's all it took Elders. He just needed Drake May to clean up his footwork, and he's in on a jersey. He's in.
There you go. Mike in Ithaca, New York, says this is on podcast at patriots.com, the email address. I got a weird thought experiment that might be interesting. I agree with Evan that I think Mayo should take a more hands-on approach with the defense because, my God, 17 run plays in a row. Join me in my land of make-believe for a second. Let's say Mayo doesn't put more into the defense in the interest of still being a CEO-type head coach. Do you think Elliott Wolf would make a call to Robert Saleh? Crazy, I know, but stranger things have happened. If not, is there any chance Mayo calls up old friend Brian Belichick and tries to persuade him away from his... You mean Steve Belichick? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't really see this. I think it's kind of shuffling things around just to try to make yourself feel better. I mean, DeMarcus Covington has more experience coaching this defense than Gerard does. I mean, he's been here longer, so, and I'm sure the message is the same. They've both been taught the same way. They've fought through the same problems over the last few years together and figuring these kind of situations away. I don't think that Gerard Mayo's got all these different answers that, DeMarcus Covington wouldn't already kind of know. And like he said today in the press conference, they're working together. I mean, if you just need to see change for change's sake, then I get it. But like I said earlier in the show, not every head coach is up there diagramming plays on the sidelines, and Gerard's got to do it the way he's going to do it. He's empowering these coordinators to make the changes, and like I said, you've seen a little bit of progress on the offensive side of the ball. So, but I agree with the point. They got to be better on defense. I just don't know if that's the answer.
I mean, I'm looking at the reaction of everybody, including myself, and I look at it two ways, like try to find a silver lining in it. And, one way, we are spoiled. We're not used to this. This is jarring. But on the other hand, I'm glad that people are so pissed off and care that much.
Yeah.
We're certainly not seeing apathy, which is the worst thing any franchise can have from its fan base. So, maybe the emotion's really good. So
you've got to cleanse the palate here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all the Patriots fans that hopped on the bandwagon and thought it was easy.
Yeah.
But I've been here before. We saw 91, 92. I remember those.
Yeah, but that was such a long time ago.
It was bad.
Matt in Baltimore writes in, I'm not sure what the uproar is all about with the media, coaches, and fans after losing to Jacksonville. The Patriots season is already a success. Drake May is a superstar in the making, and they did a good job grooming him behind Jacoby until he was ready to start. The Patriots' goals going forward should be continue to develop May without getting him killed. Develop your other younger players who will be here when May hits his stride. Demario Douglas, Polk, Javon Baker, Gonzalez, White, Wallace, etc. Develop the right culture. Mayo needs to say less and more of the right things. He does need his players to be smart and tough, but talking to the media is not the way to do it. He needs to mature and help his players mature. The Patriots season is already a success considering the development of May, and their next season begins with the draft and free agency. I root every week for them to pick at the top of the I root every week for them to lose. If they get the number one pick next year, they can flip that into multiple first-round choices and pick at the top of the later rounds. If they could kill the draft, combine that with a successful free agency, and you give your team an instant shot of adrenaline. Focus on items 1 through 3 above. Don't win any more games this year, and the Patriots will have a bright 25-year future.
I understand what he's saying. I don't want the first overall pick. I don't want that one. I think that one's going to be so hard to move. Like, I think the sweet spot is like 3, 4, 5, where a few picks will happen, then someone will fall, that another team really wants, and then you're able to move it. My worry is that you don't need a quarterback and you get stuck with the first overall pick, and then you're not able to move it. You're going to, maybe overdraft a position in need. Maybe there isn't somebody that quite fits. So I also just say I want a spark at the end of this year. I want to feel good about something other than just Drake May. I want to feel like this team is coming together and that they're finding a little bit of their own identity that isn't related to the past 22 years.
Yeah.
I want to see Gerard Mayo's team starting to come out and play. And, maybe it is guys that we don't really realize at this point. I know they're getting down the depth chart that emerge, but there needs to be more than just, well, Drake May was good. We went 1-16 and, but he got killed, but I feel good about his arm talent. Like, I need to feel good about
Stacy from Indiana kind of has the same thoughts. She writes, I know we're 1-6. We're obviously not going to win very many games, and we're clearly not a playoff team. We are what we are. But what do the Patriots need to do from here on out for you to consider this a successful season for the team? And it's kind of like what you're talking about. Yeah. The problem is, you want to see the locker room to come together and positive signs about them being, on the same page. It's going to be hard, though, without winning. Like, if you don't win a few games, that's going to be really hard to do.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm not sure that they've got the talent on the field enough to do that.
Yeah.
So, like, what does being on the same page look like if you don't win a few games?
Right.
It's going to be hard.
Well, then you really have to get into the weeds of it. But, I think we all have seen football teams that at various levels that aren't the most talented team, but football's that one sport where if everybody's on the same page, you can be a tough team to beat. And I know it takes more than that to really be a consistent playoff contender. But they've had big injuries in the past, and other teams have had big injuries in the past, and guys have emerged, and the system is good, and everybody buys in, and they're able to at least play, at a level where you're middle of the pack, or maybe like right now they're hurting themselves with penalties. They don't look like a team that's all on the same page. And absent of wins, that's for me what I need to see. A team that's all on the same page. Look,
but what does that look like? What is a team that's
no dumb penalties?
No, but hold on.
Yeah.
I just want to ask the question, and then you can answer.
Yeah, okay.
Like, what does a team that's 1-13 look like if they're on the same page?
Yeah, maybe it doesn't exist.
No, but you were going to answer. Go ahead.
The dumb penalties, the self-preventable kind of things where it looks like guys aren't locked in, but just being solid on special teams. I don't need them to score every week.
A good special teams.
But you know what I mean? Just a solid special teams that they're not giving up points. They're maintaining solid, consistent. I don't need them to be the best special teams in the league, but you can't give up kickoff returns and punt returns. And that's been a problem going back a couple years now of giving up those big plays on, and the big plays on,
I would say
don't give up big plays, penalties, and just have solid special teams.
It's a tough question to answer because, again, without the wins, but I would say losing games like Seattle, where you're competitive.
Yeah.
But it's obvious that the other team is just
a
more
little
talented, and that's why you lost.
Yeah.
You didn't lose because you let 17 straight run plays up. You didn't lose because you let up a punt return. You didn't lose because of excessive penalties and stupid penalties. If you do those things, okay, they're just better than us.
Right.
They just have better
They've
players.
got that one piece we don't have yet,
right.
But we can get there.
Right. So that's going to be tough, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough because when you are not as good, you have a tendency to false start because you're nervous. You're trying to get that edge. You have a tendency to just, grab a face mask because you weren't in position to make the tackle the right way. So penalties also happen when you're outmatched.
Totally. And you get frustrated, and you're in a situation where these guys are right now where I'm sure we all felt it at that game last week where it's kind of here we go again. Like you're on a snowball right now.
Playing
that's
from
getting
behind.
Bigger.
You're doing
oh God! And then they
that.
return the kick. I mean, everybody was probably sick to their stomachs when they returned. That punt. That was, to me, that's just like, you got to be kidding me. We were feeling so great, and then it's like, boom, 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 22-10, like right like that. And I'm sure the players feel that way too. And it takes a certain mental toughness to break that, not only within the game, but just within the season. Because
you think Behringer's ever going to punt down the middle on a long punt ever again?
Oh man, it's gonna be in like the 200s on the other side of the field,
you'd
just
rather
to avoid
have
it.
it go out at the 20 than pin him down inside the 5. Barton Poland writes in, holy heck, the discourse surrounding this team and the what-if scenarios of Bill coaching it and what the record would be are insane. One, Bill with this exact same roster is probably 2-5, at best 3-4. Definitely not 5-2, as some people on the internet would make you believe. The roster wouldn't be the same. There's absolutely no way that Bill drafts May, and that alone makes me okay with him being gone. We definitely trade down and either take Nix or McCarthy or trade a tackle with signing a Wilson Cousins type quarterback, and we probably sign a few veteran free agents. That would probably lead you to an 8-9 record at best, the number 13 pick in the draft, and no future outlook at the quarterback position. But hey, at least Bill's closer to the win record. And 3, some people seem to completely forget that this team was 4-13 last season, and that's with playing against bum quarterbacks every other week. I love Bill. He's the GOAT. But it was time to move on. The decision to hire Mayo is a completely different discussion. I've always been in the camp of hiring a young, tight pants, offensive-minded head coach. I'd probably give my left testicle to see Ben Johnson work with Drake May. I know that Evan just gasped at the thought of it. Johnson being May's coach, of course, not me losing my testicle. That's Bart in Poland.
Oof.
So I can I jump in?
Oh,
Sure.
hello. Welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me. The entirety of the premise of that email, I would 100% agree with. Some of the nuts and bolts of what Bill would have done, like the way he just described that, I don't think that would have necessarily been wrong. That would have been another way to go about a rebuild.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any chance that he would have signed Russell Wilson or
Kirk Cousins.
Well, let me rephrase that. There's no chance he would have signed Kirk Cousins. There's a chance that he would have signed Russell Wilson because of the money.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been something more along the lines of what they did with a Jacoby Brissett type or something like that.
Yeah.
But why would trading down, like I liked May. I wanted to draft May. You guys all know that. That's what I would have done. I would have drafted May ahead of Jaden Daniels, which right now looks like the wrong move, but that's what I would have done. You could have easily traded down and drafted McCarthy. I don't think he would have drafted Nix, but McCarthy, I think, is kind of a Bill-ish.
Yeah.
Don't you think of McCarthy as
sure.
kind of a Bill-ish type quarterback?
Totally.
Game manager,
Yeah.
some athleticism, but not necessarily a huge athlete.
Yeah. Good kid, coach.
And you trade down, get extra picks. Like, I don't think that would have been a terribly short-sighted. Again, I agree with the premise of the email that Bart sent. Like, this whole notion that Bill would be 5-2 or 6-1 with this, no chance. But just that little part of it, I was like, I don't think that would have been a terrible move if Elliott Wolf decided to trade down and draft one of the other quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And get more picks.
I just can't shake the.
And we don't know how McCarthy would have been because he got hurt, right?
No.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I think 2020. I feel like Rodgers was the move for him. Like if it was going to be successful here, I think that was the move. Go get Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and I think there's a reason that he doesn't want that kind of. Like, I think he had that quarterback that dominated his team for so long.
Yeah.
He didn't want that anymore. And that's a failing. Like, not a failure that he didn't go and get Rodgers, but I think the fact that he no longer wanted that quarterback to, whether it was about credit or just dominating his team or whatever it was, he wasn't there for that.
No, I think as much has been written about the Patriots dynasty and the docket, there's still a lot to be written. There's still a lot of.
Are you going to write it?
Oh, huh?
Are you going to write it?
Make me an offer.
I don't have any money.
Yeah. But seriously, I do think there's still a lot to be written about just the mindset of Bill, how he was running the team behind the scenes, and Brady and Kraft, and I think there's still a lot to be written.
The end with Bill. I mean, that's just having this conversation. It's just if he hadn't gone, what would this year have been like? And like the trade down for J.J. McCarthy, it sounds like you're doubling down on what happened with Mac again. So why is this going to be different than what you did with Mac?
Oh, yeah. Again, I that's why I stated up front. I would have taken Drake May. But I'm just looking like this whole thing that like Bill would have screwed it up by doing that. And then I think he finished it. We'd be left at 8-9 with the 13th pick and no future. Like the future would be J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix in that scenario. Like, I like Drake May better than those guys, but that doesn't mean I'm right.
Yeah. It was just time's running out, for him. And, like, you want to win now? Do you want to, work with a kid that you prefer to deal with? Or do you want to win football games with a little bit of a pain in the ass that might be a diva sometimes, but is super talented and you're not going to have to hold his hand through the whole process? That would have been my question is, all right, so what did you learn from 2020 and 2021. You had big, we have free agency money. You've got a chance now for more free agency money, and you had a high draft pick. And what would have been different so that it doesn't all kind of just stay blah, which is what it did after that start in 2021. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but
I don't either.
Because part of me just can't imagine Bill doing anything different than what he always did and what he believes. And well, I just got to get players who actually will listen to me.
I think listening to him talk specifically about Drake May, I don't believe he would have drafted Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not necessarily saying he wouldn't have drafted a quarterback at 3. I just don't. Based on his breakdown, I don't think it would have been Drake May. So I agree with Bart about that. It was time. Like I said, everything about the email was right.
It all got stale, and there was no easy answer anymore.
And it was time.
I mean, he had the first round rookie quarterback. He had a big free agency period in 2021. You had a couple years to try to build off of that, and it didn't build off. It degraded. It was going the opposite direction for a variety of reasons. But I don't know. I just think the one thing I'm still kind of like missing about him is just the feeling of he's going to adjust to the other team. Like, the other team is going to have to beat him kind of twice, and within the game, I mean. They're going to have to come out with a good game plan, and then they're going to have to come out with their adjustments to whatever they adjust to. And right now, it just feels kind of like what you see is what you get, and there's no way to change it.
Yeah, you definitely have lost that. You've lost that.
It's a good point.
Patty in Agawam. What's up, Patty? Patty.
Hello, guys.
Hey.
Patty.
Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so a couple quick questions. First, do you think Gerard Mayo, before the end of the season, will find that fine line of kind of like not saying whatever pops into his head and just shutting up? And what I mean by that is, like, I was in sales when I was in my mid to early 20s, and one of my managers told me, if you don't know the answer to a question, or you don't know, like, how to answer a question, just say, I don't know, I think he doesn't have to always be so forthcoming with the media. Like, do you guys think he regrets saying that this team will win more than 4 games before the season started? And the second question that I had was, as far as the matchup with the Jets goes, which matchup do you think is most lopsided in the Jets' favor? Like, their defensive line against our offensive line, their receivers against our quarterbacks? And I'll take it off the air, guys.
Okay, thanks. On the first point, I think
their front seven against your front line.
Yeah.
I think probably be my guess. But this is another one of these games that if you just went man for man and did it that way, you'd have a hard time coming up with very many that you'd feel good about.
Matchups, yeah. On the first part, I think I hope Gerard gets better. And doesn't, have this stream of consciousness when he gets to the microphone. He has to. I mean, he's got to learn this stuff, and I hope that there is somebody coaching him, and going over the tape just like you would a game. How'd you do today it doesn't have to be hours, but 15 minutes a day. How did I do today?
Yeah.
What could I have done better? So.
It's a good point.
It's hard. It's hard. I mean, try standing up there 3 times a week and getting grilled by a bunch of media.
It is
hard.
It'd be
hard for any of us.
It's harder than you think.
Remain consistent message and shoot, I shouldn't have said it that way. All those things. It's hard.
Yeah, it is. So, Aaron's in Toronto. What's up, Aaron?
Hey everyone. First time, long time, and a big fan of the show.
Thank you.
I had a purely hypothetical question I was hoping you could have some quick fun with. What if Drake May was drafted to the 2021 Patriots? It doesn't matter how that could have happened, but how would the season have gone and maybe the time since? And thanks a lot. I'll take it off the air.
Oh boy.
I think we'd be talking about where the AFC Championship is going to be played.
Kansas City or Buffalo?
No.
Or Foxborough.
He goes, no.
No, I think you'd be 4 years into Drake May, and I think things would be good.
I have to put myself in a positive mind space and say, I think we'd be in a good place right now.
Yeah.
You'd be throwing bombs to Nelson Aguilar.
But the real answer is I have absolutely no idea.
No, it's not easy. But
No,
you
it's
know what
not.
is?
Bud Light.
Bud Light.
Hell
It's
yeah.
easy to drink. It's easy to enjoy. It's Bud Light, and it's the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. And whether you're prepping for this week's game, snack spread, or already getting ready to host Thanksgiving dinner, Bob's Discount Furniture can help. Your first move? Play the Bob's Dare to Compare Challenge and shop the party-ready Mango Dining Collection. Now, I'm wondering if it's mango because of the color or the style. Is it like got a flair to it? I don't know. But after all, what's more winning than snagging the stylish Mango's high-quality, solid wood construction for hundreds less than the competition? See how much you can save when you dare to compare with Bob's Discount Furniture Store, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. All right, let's take a break, and we'll be back after this. Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Draco, from your first start to your second start, what kind of growth did you see? What kind of things do you feel like you need to work on as you continue to try to get better and better as starting quarterback?
Yeah, I think the big thing, we started fast. I think, 2 drives, put 2 good drives together. Versus my first start, I think it was 3 and out, and then the second one was maybe another 3 and out. So, started fast and felt, more comfortable in the center of that first snap than the first time, and, kind of got the nerves out of me. So, feel more comfortable back there, more comfortable in the huddle, play calls and little things like that, little things that kind of you don't see on the field, but, felt more comfortable in the huddle. Felt like I was, bringing some more energy to, to the start of the game, and then from there, I think just protected the football. That's the big thing. Didn't, turn the ball over, and got some plays which wish I had back that makes better throws even in the in last game that can maybe be different in the ball game. But at the same time, I think did some good things, just didn't sustain it long enough and put drives together. Especially in that second quarter.
You see a player like Jalen Cole, who's obviously a rookie like you probably developed a relationship with Matt Vein, struggling a little bit catching the ball and securing it. How do you approach that as a quarterback?
Yeah, I think just pump him up. I think that's the biggest thing you can do, especially a guy coming in the same class. You're I'm the first round, he's a second round pick. We built a connection early during camp and during the summer. I felt like we had it going, and I think you just still find it, still working together. So that's only our second game out there together, and I feel like we've left some plays out there, both me ball placement wise, and I'm sure he'd like to have some plays back himself. I think it's just building the camaraderie, and I think we're going to get there. I don't think it's a matter of if, I think it's a matter of when.
What's the level of precision that you're seeing right now in the passing game in terms of runs that are being run, et cetera, and spacing, et cetera? And you're comfortable with saying, you know what, down the block, you need to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I think I'm getting there. Especially preaching what MVP preaches, and doing the little things, and some of the love of the for the love of the game routes of spacing, and maybe you have a clear route to get somebody else open. I think we're kind of feeling that out. Got a young team, especially in the receiver room, that the tight ends got a better understanding of. They've been in a lot of different concepts and offenses. I think the kind of young guys are starting to figure it out, and I think here you're going to see it click. And I think we got some talent on offense. So I'm looking forward to seeing when that happens.
What's the love of the game route?
Yeah, if you're running like a clear out on like a dagger concept, you're going to clear out. We're just taking out too high, taking out the safeties for the dig, coming out for your friend to come catch, a dagger concept. For the love of the game is you're just hauling butt. Basically not really expecting the football, just expecting to get your friend open.
Drake, Scott Chadwick. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Scott Chadwick mentioned that back in high school, you used to go to the sideline and check the stats to make sure different guys are getting the ball. Is that a mentality you still have, and why is it important for you to make sure that different guys are getting involved in the pass?
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. I think at the same time, it's also something that I keep in mind of getting guys the football, especially in one-on-one scenarios. We have different guys that make plays, but at the same time, right now I'm just trying to do my part in the offense and not try to worry about that as much. But I think there's definitely at times in games where, hey, I'm gonna tell you, hey, if you're one-on-one next time, I'm coming your way. I told KB that later in the game that I need to give him some more chances. He's a good player for us. So little things like that. I care about. Them guys want the football and they want the football, and try to feed them all. That's the best thing. But at the same time, everybody is going to want the ball more than probably they're going to get. So you got to kind of balance that aspect.
Drake, there was a clip on social media this morning. Dan Orlovsky of ESPN was kind of breaking down your game. You showed a play where he was highlighting really good footwork, base. He was really praising how far you've come along in such a short amount of time in footwork. Does it feel like that's you, that you've come a long way with your footwork? When you watch yourself now compared to how you were in college, you're like, wow, the work we put in is really starting to pay off now.
Yeah, I think it's credit to these coaches here, AVP and TC. They've really they've really hammered it home, and at the same time, I think some things where some different drops that I'm taking now weren't really asked of me in college. So some of these 5-step and under center play actions, we didn't do much of those. So it probably really didn't give me a chance to show off some of the footwork stuff. So. There's two ways to look at it, but credit to these guys here. I think still working on things throughout the week. TC puts it up on the board. Little things throughout the week that I keep in mind, and I feel like I feel comfortable back there. Maybe scrambled into one sack late in the game. I told Big Mike that was my fault, but other than that, I feel good back there. I feel like I'm seeing it well. Just I'm going to continue to get some reps.
Going back to the Polk stuff, I'm curious, what's the challenge like as a rookie who maybe wants to be deferential to the older guys, Hunter, when you come Andre, against being a guy who's leader, being a guy who's a forward-facing position? What's that challenge like for you to try to strike that balance?
Yeah, I think. What are you really asking?
Well, just in terms of you want to be deferential as a rookie, as a first-year guy, but you have a lot of veterans. You're kind of surrounded by a lot of veterans. How do you strike that balance, trying to be a leader in a leadership role?
Yeah, I think. That's a good point. I think it goes back to just kind of building relationships with different guys. That's kind of my approach to it. Really get to know them and kind of see where we relate. I think me and JP relate with, hey, we're both been working football nonstop since the end of the college season, and sometimes all the vets talk about the rookie wall you hit, and just kind of continue to get over that hump and just find each and every day ways to be excited about coming here and playing football and playing in the NFL. I think going back to that and kind of looking at the bigger picture with JP and some of Bake and those young guys, and even Jaheim, some of those guys. I think that's kind of a reminder of this is what we dreamed of, and kind of the dream doesn't stop now. I think kind of just getting back to work, and then with those older guys, just kind of picking up bits and pieces that I can maybe carry into those young guys. What can help us? I think that's kind of my approach to it. And those Hunter and DA and some of those guys are stuff I'm picking up every day with Jacoby in the quarterback room. So.
You said that tight ends might have a better understanding of the offense right now. I think that's one reason why you're targeting Hunter Henry so much. You build a connection with Hunter Henry so well.
Yeah, I would say they have a better understanding. I think the receivers, they had a great understanding. I think just Hunter and them see more reps of different things that whether safeties or linebackers or coverages can do. Hunter and Hoop have spent I don't know, combined years probably 17 plus or almost 20 years in the NFL. You can see the kind of the vet experience in that room of their feel for space and their feel for, hey, this guy's playing in man versus those young guys. I think they're some kind of feeling it out, and JP maybe thinking, hey, it's man, I'm working my route, and little things like that or pop. So I don't really think to understand. I think it's just kind of the reps of getting it. So I think that's something they continue to find, and as the weeks go on, you'll still see that improve.
Drake, Hunter mentioned that he feels like he needs to bring juice and energy this week. Is that something you feel like you need to bring to the locker room?
I think as a quarterback, I need to bring it every day. Every day, that's my responsibility that comes with playing the position is bringing juice and being the guy that somebody look to. Hey, if Drake's down, then just the quarterback of the football team. So I think it's every day I need to bring juice, and that's kind of my personality anyway. So.
And now, great moments in history.
So in your mind, you don't get the title of weapon unless you're a real playmaker, a real difference
But that's
maker.
what we're talking about,
Yeah.
right? That's the guys that they were
No,
looking
when
at.
I look at,
you know, like they're,
No.
they're interested in Brandon Ayuk.
No,
He's
but
a guy that can impact the
See,
game.
I look at it like, okay, what is this quarterback's weapons? All right, he's got Hunter Henry at tight end. He's got Polk. He's got,
Yes, that's different.
Yeah.
You're just rattling off all the skill position players.
Right. But
there's a difference
is he
between.
who are the dependable people that this quarterback
Like, do you
goes
think
to?
Demario Douglas is a weapon?
He should be.
He's
right
one
now
of,
he isn't.
He's one of Jacoby Brissett's weapons, but is he a weapon?
Not yet, but he should
I like
be.
it. I like it.
He
I like
should
it.
be. Don't you? he
I'm
should-
going all
I know, I
Andy
like
on
it.
you.
I know, I like
I'm
it.
going
I
all
like
Andy
it.
on you, but
but don't you think he should be a weapon?
He's among his
Why
weapons,
not?
but he's not.
because
a
he's
weapon.
not that kind of player.
Oh, I do. I think he's dynamic.
No, I don't think he is.
I need to.
I don't
see
think
more
he's
of him.
ever
he could
seen.
be.
I don't think he's
he
ever
could
shown
be.
any dynamic ability.
Yeah.
Demario Douglas?
Yeah.
You're talking about Pop now.
That's another great moment from
All right, back here at Patriots Unfiltered. 855-PATS-500 is the TPX hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. We continue to get emails that we're afraid to turn the comments on YouTube, the chat.
Oh.
We're not afraid of anything. We had a racist on the chat, and until we can install the filter, we're not turning the chat back on. It's not we're afraid of what you're going to say unless it is a racist comment. Yeah, we don't want that. So, but I would like to get an update on how that's going. I'll have to check.
Well, you are the boss man.
It's taken a while. Doesn't seem like it should take that long. But as soon as we do that, we'll turn the chat back on, and assuming that the filter works, we'll keep it on. But if someone wants to act a fool on that, we will turn it off again. I'm sorry. You know
what really grinds my gears?
Well, listen, I mean, oh, you're afraid.
No.
It's like, screw you. God.
I mean, I don't.
I'm not afraid.
Right. All right.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Like, we made fun of Gerard Mayo yesterday. Made fun of Bill Belichick yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, it's not fear.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else?
No,
Anything that's transpired since the? We're waiting for
DeAndre Hopkins.
Evan to come back from practice.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins goes to Kansas City.
The Chefs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
move.
I mean, I think that they needed to make a move for somebody after losing all of those receivers. But, I think Hopkins is kind of back nine-ish. But he'll help. He'll be another one of these guys that kind of looked done, and then
Helps us
Mahomes
too.
will.
I mean, if
One
Juju
less
can
guy
do
we
it,
have
who
to worry
can?
about, right?
Mahomes will be right. Yeah, he won't be playing for Tennessee
Right.
next week.
Right.
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 That's the next
Oh.
game, right?
Yeah.
After the
it
Jets,
is.
Tennessee.
Nashville.
Winnable. Maybe.
Yeah.
I agree.
Maybe.
That is a winnable game.
Will Levi's throw us something? Give us something, babe.
I don't think he's playing, but
No. Whoever. Who is it?
Mason Rudolph.
Oh, jeez.
Either
Right.
way.
Either
does,
way.
Does it really matter, Rock?
That's the formula. Back up, baby. Let's go.
Here we go.
Tried and true formula.
Winning ways. Get back to those winning ways.
Who says we can't stop the run?
Was that Derrick Henry got on it? Derrick Henry's on the
No,
Ravens.
he's not.
Ah,
He's not there no more, guy.
I thought we shut
Wait,
him
you
down.
must be having a good season with him, huh?
I mean, I'm trying not to.
Talk
but-
about
Talk
Derrick
about.
Henry. Oof.
rejuvenated.
Oof.
I mean,
No, Paul said yesterday.
He was like.
It's really
watching
like
the game
thunder and
tonight,
lightning.
He didn't even have like an impact on the game in the first half. I think he had 4 carries the whole first half. And all of a sudden, they hand the ball to him a couple of times in the second half, and it's just like 80 yards down the sideline, 40 yards off tackle. It's just like these chunk plays.
I can't imagine the small amount of football that I played, because I always just found that really kind of hard when you got used to one kind of running back or, keying off of one guy, and this is how and then all of a sudden they bring in like this little kid who'll be like the other way, and it was just like, not that that's the same, but like going from Henry to then like Lamar Jackson is like going Mach 2 around the like I just imagine your head is spinning as a defensive player trying to deal with those
this
guys.
might be their year, the Ravens.
I know. I
Well,
think
they gotta
so.
They got to play
They
well
gotta-
better on
yeah,
defense.
Yeah,
fix
they're
the
going to have to
defense
fix the
and figure out
because
the
you can
Chiefs.
win with great offense and so defense, but their defense is flat out bad.
Yeah.
And it's hard to imagine that your offense is just going to be great every game.
Yeah.
It's one of my biggest questions right now about this era, though. Is it are the Lamars of the world or the Josh Allens of the world? Are they going to become the Phillip Rivers who just happen to be here and happen to be when the GOAT of this period is dominating things? And Are either of those teams ever going to be able to consistently get past
I'd
the
argue
Chiefs,
both
you know?
of the. I mean, totally get your point. I'd argue
Yeah.
both of those guys have already exceeded Phillip Rivers. Though.
Yeah,
like
I
Phillip
mean-
Rivers, they had like 2
Not an
years.
MVP, and I mean, but at least Peyton
that-
Manning got a couple,
But
right?
like 06, 07, the Chargers were like true contenders. After that, they were like.
That's fair. I didn't want to use
fringe
Manning just because he
playoff.
did actually get one, but
Yeah.
you know, there were just a handful of really
No,
good
it's
quarterbacks.
a fair
that
point. You
it's
always
almost worse
it's
to be that
Mahomes,
good.
Brady, and is everybody else Manning? You know, maybe you'll win 1 or 2, but
yeah,
never
well,
to
you know,
the
the other
yeah.
guys won 6.
Right? Is Lamar going to get
you know,
one
in the AFC? I'm
when it's
talking
all
about.
said? Like Lamar's got 1 and Mahomes
Yeah.
has 6. Like
yeah, like I think it's a fair question to ask right now
I'm sure that's what they're asking themselves.
I wonder. I don't know. Like the whole thing with the Chiefs, they're undefeated, and everybody just looks at they don't look great.
They never do.
No.
The last couple of years, it's been like
They don't look
"Ow."
great in these games against kind of so competition.
Yeah, Mahomes says this is the worst 6-0 start he's ever had, and he's
Did he really
upset.
say
No,
that
I'm
like
kidding.
like Tom?
Like Tom did. Yeah. Let's get back to the TPX hotline. Trey's in Memphis. What's up, Trey?
Hey guys, how's it going?
All right. Trey.
Man, can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, so it's been a while since I've called, man, but I have been listening. I just have a couple of things, and Fred, please don't hit the button, cut me off. I'm not gonna curse. But when I look at a couple of the teams, like the Jaguars, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Titans, they do have those. They do have those weapons that we would love to have. I mean, but when you look at both those teams are what, a game or two better than you. And the second thing, during the off season, I want to. This is what I would do if I was Gerard Mayo. I would demote DeMarcus Covington and say, "Hey man, you just go back to being the D coordinator." And I would talk to Alex Van Pelt to see if I decided to make a move or just have him to just be a QB coach. I mean, so what you guys
Okay,
think
and
about
both. So who's your defensive coordinator and who's your offensive coordinator in that scenario?
Well, now that I
That's
don't
the thing.
know. I mean, but I'm just saying, if I was to make that, I mean, it's just a scenario that I'm putting out there. I mean, but I don't know as far as the D coordinator wise. I mean, but if it was me, I think Mayo should do like what Belichick did over the years, be the main guy that's really, calling the defense and just have
Yeah.
a guy with a title. Now, as far as offensive coordinator, I have no idea. I mean, because I don't know who would want to come and take this offensive job.
Yeah, that's the problem this year.
I mean, so
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Trey.
And they
Appreciate the
did.
call.
That was an underrated problem.
Yeah.
Like filling out the coaching staff.
It
They had a
was.
hard time finding guys that wanted the job.
They did.
The other, when like Covington and Van Pelt are probably, and I'm not going to say never because obviously you never know, but they're probably not going to accept demotions to stay here. Like you're not going to have Alex Van Pelt. We want you to be the quarterback's coach now. It's probably not going to happen.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I had someone in the mailbag this week suggested that they should make Gerard Mayo the defensive coordinator and hire a new head coach. Like, what makes you think Gerard Mayo? I mean, I suppose you could say, well, he continues to get paid because he's under contract and he gets the same money, but like even it's so unrealistic.
How is that going to work for the team when all of a sudden now you're neutering your head coach and you got a new guy in, and it's just you got to just sit and take it and hope that they find a way to get these guys to play better.
Yep. Lee in Malvern, UK, says, I enjoyed the experience of the London game. Thought we might be off to the races as we started so well. Split my jeans celebrating the touchdown, so had to be a bit more circumspect afterwards. But the Jaguars could have won by far more if they'd run the ball from the start. This talk about the record not mattering, it does matter. I want them to win every week, and it matters to every fan that pays to see the team either by going to a game, watching it in a bar, or paying to watch at home. Start of this year, I thought that the team could end up with a worse record than last year based on the fixtures, the need to draft a quarterback in the first round, and new coaches doing jobs they've never done. There's some bad teams in the league, and realizing we're one of them is tough to swallow.
Ain't that the truth? It is. It's just, I'm okay with struggling, but there's just a certain, like, bottom 2, bottom 3 teams that just
This is a couple of years in a
stings.
row. Like, and the other part of that is, like, I think most people, the whole, like, the record doesn't matter, it does matter, whatever. I don't think that the record is the important thing. Like, the 1-6 part to me is not the thing it's not even anywhere near the most troubling part. It's the way it looks.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that we're talking about instead of football.
Yep.
That's the most
100%.
troubling part.
Yep.
We're talking about the coach calling his players soft, the players trying to respond to that. It's young guys sort of, spouting off. It's the social media stuff. It's the, guys being inactive. We're going to make changes, and there's not really any change. Those are the things to me that are far more concerning than being 1-6. Because
right,
I kind of expected to be 1-6. I actually said yesterday, like, I thought that there was a chance if they lost to Seattle in the home opener that they would go to London winless, because I didn't think they would beat Cincinnati. So
Right.
1-6 was the best I kind of hoped for coming out of London.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I so agree. I mean,
But I
it's
didn't
just
think it would look like this, Mike.
The Peppers, the Barmore situation with law enforcement. I mean, it happens, but at the same time, like, that's the things you were hoping culture-wise, that you're going to have a team that isn't going to be taking snipes at each other on social media, sending cryptic messages. I mean, I thought Tommy Curran had a good question today to Keyshawn Booty, which Keyshawn couldn't really answer, but I liked what Tom was getting at, of just like, what's the upside of posting to social media, good or bad? Like, what can possibly come good of all these things? And all people do is speculate on, like, Jalen Polk. We said he's in concussion protocol. That could have been as simple as, I'm good. I'm in concussion protocol, but peace,
Sure.
I'm okay. Could have easily been that. And other people can interpret it like, peace, I'm out. And you just leave so much ambiguity that it only, what is it? Don't believe, don't feed the hype. Like, that's one of those things.
Don't add to the
Don't
noise.
add to the noise.
Yeah, we didn't mention. Did we mention that Mayo said that Polk is in the concussion protocol?
Yeah, I mean, he left the game with a head injury.
Yeah.
To me, a head injury isn't because he got a bump.
And then
he got concussed.
Any interest in Cooper Kupp?
No.
No, none at all.
Not at this point.
I
I'm
don't
fast
need 32-year-old
developing,
receivers that aren't going to be part of my next good team.
Is he that old?
He'll be 32.
I feel like I'm going to,
next
like,
year.
vehemently climb up Mount. I don't want your free agent receiver. I'm going to climb up that
So,
mountain and just live
we
there.
we got an email, like, in the Ask PFW a little while ago, and it was mentioning guys like Traylon Burks for Tennessee, who hasn't really established much of a role in their receiving corps. John Mechie in Houston, same thing, and Walker Little, the tackle who came in on Sunday to play for Cam Robinson for Jacksonville. Those three guys I'd be interested in. I don't know if they're any good.
Right.
I have no idea, but they were, they.
But
they
if
were
they
all,
are, you could have them for a while.
But I think they're all day 2 picks.
Yeah.
So there was an element of talent to them. In Burks' case, I think he was a first-round pick.
He was, yeah.
I think Mechie was a second-rounder, and I think Walker Little was a second-rounder, as my voice, Peter Brady's. So those kinds of guys, they haven't really established anything with their current teams. Maybe they can become available, or maybe you can. Now, I'm not giving you a second or third round pick for those guys. I'm giving you seventh round. These guys have not really played.
Yeah.
But maybe young guys that you could bring in, develop, that might be better than what you have now. So they, like Walker Little, wouldn't he play left tackle for you right now?
Sure.
And maybe by the end of the year, you're like, hey, we might have something with Walker Little.
Yeah.
That you could convince me to do. You could be a buyer if that's the kind of guy you're buying.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just it's like the Amari Coopers of the world, and these moves of grabbing a veteran wide receiver in the middle of the season to kind of you're seeing what kind of teams are doing that right now. They are not that team. And it's stupid to try to allocate resources on somebody that isn't going to be part of it long term. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with Paul though. I mean, taking shots on guys who are just coming off their first contract or still in their 20s, I'm fine with it. It's just the aged name that isn't the player that they used to be, but he's got name recognition, so the fantasy crowd knows who he is and would Amari Cooper make a difference? I mean,
Yeah.
for this team, no.
Freddie, I just wanted to bring up Cup again. I tweeted this out yesterday, and I took my beating like I should have. Someone called in to the post-game show and suggested the Patriots, you think Cooper Cup could be available. I was like, why would the Rams trade him? Like,
Right.
he's finally going to be coming back healthy. I think he's playing tomorrow night. They got an old quarterback. Those receivers are a big part of their offense, but evidently, now I'll believe it when I see it, and I'll tell you off air why. But the report came out yesterday that they're taking calls or they're interested in peddling Cooper Cup, and I get it. He's 31. He's almost 32 years old. He's oft injured, but for that reason, like the Chiefs, again, Cooper Cup makes sense. Like they need receivers. They're good enough to win right now.
Right.
I don't see any upside for the Patriots.
No, they don't need much out of him. They need, give us this year. That's it.
Give
That's
us the
all
end
they're
of this
trying to get out of
year,
him.
and then if you got something left, you can help us win a title.
Yeah, it's not like, hey, we want you to get familiar with Drake this year, and then next year is really when we're going to shine. Or,
Get a Cooper Cup and Kendrick Bourne. It's like Eastern Washington's receiver core.
Robin Bellingham writes in, I really appreciate your balanced takes yesterday on all of the stuff going on in the media between the organization and Belichick. Thank you for being sane about it. This fan base is becoming so toxic at this point that it makes it difficult to engage with them at all if you disagree with the hive mind, at least online. They've been killing RK for hiring Mayo, and as soon as the media started talking about Mayo's job not being guaranteed for next year, they're killing him for trying to save face by possibly firing him. This fan base has become insane, and you're the last place that's attempting to inject some sane, rational opinions on the current state of the team.
I've never been described that way.
There you go. Well, it's just
I'm as insane as they come.
We've kind of been going through this for a couple of years now. Like, I don't feel like we're so out of what we're used to. Like, they haven't been that great. Like, we've been kind of trying to calm the masses, I feel like, for, ever since 2022, really.
I've said it a few times over the last couple of years, and I just think that people, you kind of talked about this a little while ago. It's like when Bill was still here, you kept in the back of your mind wondering, is this the week? Is this the week he turns it around? I think people have been very slow to understand just how far away they have been, in my opinion, for 3 years. And in 21, they made the playoffs, but they weren't close. And then they've gone backwards since. And I don't think people have really recognized it until now.
Yeah.
Guess who is back from practice?
Evan has returned from practice. Evan has returned from practice. Yeah, Evan has returned from practice. What was the mood? Who wasn't there? What did he see?
Evan.
Hello,
What's
everyone.
up?
Hello. Do we want the good news first or the bad news?
I always like the bad news first.
You decide.
Good news first. Good
What
news
is it
first.
with
Who do you guys
people
want?
that like bad news first?
I want the good news first.
The good news is that Vidarian Lowe was back at practice today for the Patriots.
Shody got low.
And now I think he's still going to be kind of limited, but
Yeah.
Good-ish.
he was there when we took attendance. The bad news is that there were 4 players absent. Jalen Polk, who Gerard Mayo says in concussion protocol.
Right.
Ramondre Stevenson, who I am assuming is managing something throughout the week. Layden Robinson, not present to start practice after injuring his ankle.
Like a drum roll,
And
drum roll.
Curtis Jacobs
is
the 4th one, a linebacker, Curtis Jacobs, who's been on the 53-man roster for a while now. That one perked up my ears a little bit.
Maybe a
about
move coming?
Some roster transactions, possibly.
Bringing in Cooper Cup.
Cooper Cup.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm just
Okay.
kidding. Totally kidding.
All right, so let's get into the details. Rather a warm day out there. I'm seeing
Unseasonably
it's like
warm.
76
Don't ask him. He
degrees
hates the
out there
weather.
right
Don't
now.
get him
doesn't like
going. He
that.
doesn't like the weather. He hates.
I don't like people that I just got to be outside today. Like it's just like okay, like calm down.
I can see that.
No, but
Evan doesn't like
I
it.
digress.
Doesn't care for it.
It's just relax.
Be inside,
Relax.
grinding the film.
Well, when it's too sunny, you can't see the all 22 screen.
Right,
it's really
exactly.
hard. The glare. The glare
like
makes it.
we're all happy it's warm out.
You know.
Relax, Mother Nature. Like let's just
Relax, Mother Nature.
keep.
No, listen,
Anyways.
I'd be outside if I could be. Absolutely. But Do the players feel the same way? Did you see a bounce in their step despite everything that's going on?
Pep in their step.
I wouldn't say bounce. I would say that there's good energy and focus, though. This does not look like, and it never does. I feel like I get this question a lot from like people, my parents and stuff. Like, does it feel bad? Like, I feel like it never actually does.
Couldn't agree more.
6-1, 1-6. I don't think it really makes a difference. They're out there. It's another day of practice. They're doing their job. So I have no vibe changes, I would say.
Huh. Okay. Well, I'm not sure if that's good. I don't know if I like that. I would hope that, the vibe when you're 6-1 is, you're upbeat, and I think the vibe when you're 1-6 is we better get better. I don't know. I think it should be a different vibe, but that's just me.
And Mike Felger have a lot in common.
Yeah.
They think there should be a good vibe.
You should
when
be
you're, when
mad.
you're 6-1, and when you're 1-6, you should be wanting to do better.
Right. Not the same.
They want to win.
It's not the same.
Winning is better.
So today was pads.
Losing bad.
Pads.
Okay.
Pads.
Yeah.
Work on the run game on both sides of the ball, maybe a little
think
bit
so?
today.
Yeah.
in
How
the
do you do
pads.
that in practice these days without being able to pound each other?
I don't know. I don't think that they do anything differently than what we see in training camp on
Yeah.
Wednesdays. I think it is Wednesday is a pretty physical day.
If Gerard wanted to, I don't think it would be advisable, because the potential for injury. But could he say, you know what? Let's get on the goal line. We're doing run. And it's going to be 100%.
Yes.
Tackle to the ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the rules would allow for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think Wednesdays are now they probably aren't tackling to the ground. They're probably thudding, on a day like today. But I think in the trenches, it's like training camp. Like it's live, they're going after it.
Okay. So speaking of going after it, the media.
Yes.
Cool.
There seems to be a lot of things going on with the media. Like it's, those who are, on the side of the organization and those who aren't. And, there's infighting and statements being made, on Twitter and all this stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
So, do you see any of that out there? Is there a lot of consternation amongst the scribes?
Yeah. It's an interesting time to be a scribe right now, Fred. It's an interesting time. I think it's difficult right now that you want to give Gerard Mayo in his first year as the head coach 7 weeks in some grace and some time to grow into the role. But you also don't want to be labeled a water carrier either. So it's a tough balance of being critical but also being fair to the fact that they told us coming in this was going to be a rebuild and that it might not be a lot of wins early on in year one, but you also have to call a spade a spade. So I think right now a lot of people are trying to figure out how to strike that balance between the two.
Yeah. And are there camps? Is there Kraft camp, Belichick camp, or Mayo camp, Belichick camp right now?
I would say that...
and are people wearing it on their sleeves?
No, but I would say in my opinion that everybody still wants Mayo and this to succeed. Like I don't think there's anybody out there.
Oh, I do.
That no one I've talked to yet is out there saying that they got a problem here with Gerard Mayo. Like I think right now a lot of people are realizing he's a young coach that's making some mistakes maybe, but let's give him some time. Let's give him some opportunity here to pull out of this before we start, calling for his job or something like that.
Okay. Any other observations?
What
about the game coming up? I said I'm kind of weirdly looking forward to this game in the challenge that it poses for the offense.
Yeah.
Because the last time really the Jets kind of had a good offense was when we played them.
Yeah.
And they sacked the combination of the two quarterbacks 7 times.
Yep.
And I'm interested to see if May looks any different or better against this same Jets defense as he did the last time. Now, they had a lot of injuries last week in their secondary and all that stuff. But, the front 7 is still pretty much the same as we faced last time. And I want to see how May handles it.
Yeah, it's an interesting it's a weird defense this year for the Jets because statistically they're middle of the pack in most things, and they're not very good based off the stats. But you look at the roster, and it's all the same guys that have been there the last couple of years that have been a great defense. It's still Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams and C.J. Mosley and all these different players. I think the one thing that's changed for them is, they've played a lot more man coverage. They blitzed the Patriots a ton in that Week 3 game, which was kind of a big story coming out of that game. But then it turned out that was just sort of a philosophical shift that the Jets were undergoing defensively. I think they really like their corners, Reed and Sauce and even Michael Carter in the slot, and they're trying to allow those guys to play man-to-man a little bit more often and use that to their advantage. But then last week they lose Reed and they lose Michael Carter, and the backups got picked on a little bit. So it hasn't been a good defense relative to expectations, almost a lot like the Patriots defense hasn't been good to expectation. But I think big picture with this matchup with the Jets, I mean, they got killed in Week 3. Like that was not a competitive game. Like the Jets completely overwhelmed them on both sides of the football, and I just wonder if that was a talent gap or if that was a bigger conversation about the two rosters and everything, or if it was a short week and
home opener for the Jets.
Home opener for the Jets and a lot of buzz in the building for Aaron Rodgers and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see.
The wheels hadn't come off yet.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. TPX hotline is 855-PASS-500. The email address is podcasts@patriots.com. Let's see. Kamel writes in. He's from Georgia. And I guess the Athletic had some possible trades for the Patriots. What do you guys think of these trades? First one, Kendrick Bourne to the 49ers for a 6th-round pick. Would you do it?
Sure.
I'd be interested in that.
No thanks.
No thanks.
For a 6th-round pick?
Yeah.
No, I drive a harder bargain than that.
Okay.
At the trade deadline, like Mohamed Sanu got traded for a 2nd-round pick. Now we're going to give Kendrick Bourne away for a 6th-round pick?
Yeah.
I would.
You would do it.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with the 6th-round pick?
Accumulate as many picks as I can.
Okay.
I want like 12 or so draft picks next year if I can get them. I'm not just going to.
All right.
The
How about Jonathan Jones to the Vikings for a 6th-round pick? You do that too. You're fire sale. You'd sell it off.
But this doesn't mean like every single guy needs to get traded. Like I'm saying, they have a handful of veteran players that are probably not going to be part of your next good team.
Yeah.
I think those are 2 of them. I think there's probably another one coming up. Go ahead.
All right, Joshua Uche to the Lions for a 7th-round pick.
Yeah, again, I would.
You wouldn't drive a harder bargain than 7?
I don't think these guys are worth any more than that.
What?
I think Kendrick Bourne is definitely worth more than a 6th-round pick. But
no chance.
The receivers every year at the deadline get moved for more than 6th-round picks that can play in the league. Like guys like Bourne that are veteran guys that
what
are
did
decent.
Hopkins just go for a 5th?
No, he went for a conditional 4th.
4th or right, so a 5th.
Yeah.
Unless
the condition is they have to make the Super Bowl and he has to play a lot.
So like I think that's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Like the guy's coming off a torn ACL. He hasn't done anything yet this year to show he's healthy.
Right.
Like, I mean, if he played the rest of this year and it was and all of a sudden his production was where it was, say, last year, and then next year you wanted to trade him, sure, you could get more than a 6th-round pick for
Osborne and a 7th to the Ravens for a 6th.
No, I wouldn't do it.
I just don't see the point of any of these trades. Like, if this is all you're going to get for these guys, like, you're not going to, the 6th-round pick doesn't become a trade chip.
Right.
Like,
No,
it's
but
not
if you
like
have
use
4
it.
of them, then you can move up to
but
the...
you're also
the 5th round.
You're also not going to trade like 5 different guys.
Right.
Like,
no, I hear you.
You're asking me about all these different picks, all these different trades. Yes, I would trade KJ Osborne, who clearly wants to get traded. I would grant his wish. Like, what is he doing for you?
Right. And is he going to be here next year?
So, personally, Mike and I talked about this yesterday a little bit. Yeah, I'm not in love with day 3 picks. I understand where Evan's coming from. He's not wrong. But what is the biggest weakness on the team, like, in totality? The offensive line, in my opinion. If you have a bunch of day 3 picks, you should be able to, like, take, like, 3-4 offensive linemen and hopefully come out with 2 like guys that you can develop and be backups for you. And so all of a sudden you have some depth on the offensive line. Now, you're going to have to take your left tackle in the 1st round. I'm not saying add 4 6th-round picks so you can get Will Campbell in the 6th round. No, I'm not stupid. Like, if you're going to get a left tackle, you got to get him early. But I mean, the Michael Wenus of the world, that's where you get them.
Yeah.
And I would like try to up my chances of if I can take 4, maybe I can get 1 or 2 that are established backups for me next year.
See, like Jonathan Jones is a different story to me, who I love, by the way, but he's getting
I
up
love
there
him. I
in
absolutely
age,
love
and
him.
we're the clock's ticking there. It just this team's got to be in the game of accumulating talent. Like they have to get more good players, not less. And if you start just casting guys off for 6th round picks and 7th round picks, it's just like.
But they're going to end up losing a lot of these guys for nothing.
Not Kendrick Bourne. He's under contract. They just
Yeah.
signed him.
Okay. Well,
How
you
about
think a lot more of Kendrick Bourne than I do. But can I just throw out a couple that we talked about before Evan got here? Like where I'd be, looking for you in terms of like they need to acquire some picks. We got an Ask PFW a little while ago, and I thought they brought up 3 guys that would make sense, young guys.
Yeah.
John Mechie, Walker Little, and Traylon Burks.
Yeah, so everybody's obsessed with Walker Little. I don't know why. I think he's just a guy that has some upside that could play on the left side. He hasn't really done anything super impressive.
None
in
of
the
those 3
NFL.
guys have done anything in the NFL.
Yeah.
We're looking for a guy with upside that can play on the left side.
Yeah.
but that are young.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I'm not interested in Cooper
Right,
Kupp at
right.
age 32.
Yeah, but like Walker Little to me is more of the same of what they've had come through here at left tackle.
Yeah. So how much would you give for him?
Not much. And Traylon Burks is N'Keal Harry 2.0, and we all knew that coming out.
But
so,
wasn't Walker Little a 2nd round pick?
Yes.
So what left tackle do they have that was taken that high? That had that kind of
I'm
ability
just
coming out of
saying
college?
That I'm more of what he's done in the NFL than what
he's a
done in
backup.
college. Yeah.
He's a backup.
Yeah.
But my point being, he's a young guy that was talented enough. Like this is a Belichick. Belichick would make one of those moves without question in my mind. Something that guy possessed allowed him to be taken where he was, and it hasn't worked out. I'm going to get it for nothing. I'm not going to extend a 1st round. Like I'm not trading a 2nd round pick for Walker Little. I'm trading a 7th round pick for Walker Little. Like I'm not giving you anything of high value, but I'm rolling the dice that I can develop him. Maybe I get you start striking, throwing balls and strikes with Scotty Peters.
Now you're talking my language.
But that's what I want to give him, a young guy who had some talent.
Yeah.
To try to develop, as opposed to. Like, no, I don't mean to be disrespectful. These guys are playing their asses off, trying to compete on the offensive line. It's not Zach Thomas and Trey Jacobs' fault that they're thrust into these prominent roles.
Right.
But I want to give Peters a little bit more talent to work with and see if he can develop.
All right, one more call, then we're going to wrap it up. Sam's in
Oh.
South Carolina. What's up, Sam? Boo.
Yeah, I'm listening to your show, and it's odd that the name Walker Little is being bandied about. He is one of the very players I think you could probably go at. He's played some right tackle. He's been very sturdy. He's filled in for several people on the line. He's played guard in Jacksonville. He'll be better than anybody you have at tackle right now. You can play him on the left this year.
Ooh.
Move him
Walker
over to the
Little.
right next year. Pick up Will Campbell. Winu at right guard, Walker Little at right tackle, Andrews and Brown in the middle. Go out into free agency and get yourself a good left guard. And play Will Campbell at the left tackle. You've got Lowe, you've got Robinson, you've got Wallace, you got Brown in the middle. That's a pretty good core. That is a much better line than what you have right now. And the
Only if all those things that you just said work out.
Yeah, I just don't see Walker Little like other people do. I guess.
And you need Will
I
Campbell
don't
to be a
know.
left tackle day one.
Thanks, Sam.
That's a big ask.
Yeah, I don't know. We've had a lot of questions about Walker Little. Like I feel like for weeks now because he's kind of available, maybe. And I don't see saying to yourself, oh, we traded for Walker Little, now right tackle's stamped.
That's
and
why I
approved.
said only if all of those
Right,
things work
like
out.
now
I
we
would
don't
be
have to worry
willing
about
to
it.
take a shot at him to see if I can develop him. I'm not trading for him, plugging him in tomorrow and saying, I don't have to worry about that spot anymore. I have no idea if he can play. He hasn't played for Jacksonville, although he stepped in for Cam Robinson the other day and They ran it right down your throat with him as part of it.
I just like the Southern accent. It just
I
gives
do too.
instant credibility.
Don't you
to
automatically
anything
think
football you
offensive
talk.
linemen
I know,
from,
like, I believe it.
from an SEC program?
No matter what
when
he
you
said,
hear,
I'm like,
hear a guy talk like that.
So Walker Little is, not to keep going on about Walker Little, but he's one of those guys that had a ton of upside coming out, but he dealt with a ton of injuries in college. And so he was one of those, flyers that teams taken that has a first-round talent but second-round pedigree type of player. And just like in college, it just hasn't – that missing ingredient just hasn't been there for him. So I just don't think he's, a solution to the problem.
The solution is that this is the end of the show. Stay tuned for the playbook with John Rook. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. We'll have Patriots Unfiltered at noon. We'll have Catch 22 right after. We'll do the picks tomorrow. So we'll see you then.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.